Hi guys, Mr. Hill here with your English for today. So yesterday you had a go at writing your own non-chronological report, and we're going to share with you shortly the style of report that you're going to be creating with this next piece of writing. Before we do that, we're going to have a go with some sentences, and we're going to find different ways of joining them together and improving them to make them into some amazing pieces of writing. So this is your short task for today. How many different ways can you think to join these sentences together? I'm going to show you two pairs of sentences. So think about what words can you use. Try which, and you think of any others and use them in your sentence. So our first pair of sentences. The woman made the tunic. The tunic was made of wool. So what we can do with this one, in our second sentence, we repeat the tunic. We can replace that with which. So our sentence now becomes, instead of two sentences, it becomes one sentence that reads, the woman made the tunic, which was made of wool. Your turn now. How many other ways can you find to change this sentence? Remember, you don't have to keep the structure of the sentences the same. You can tweak them around, and you can change the orders as well. So you can have the second sentence first instead of the first sentence first, so you can switch the order of them. The other pair of sentences you're going to be looking at, the man lifted the sword glinted in the light. I want you to try and remember what you need to do in order to use which. So what are you going to drop out of the sentence in order to make it work? So as I said, you can change the order of the sentences, you can change the structure of the sentences in order to join them if you like. I would like 5 different ways, if you can do it, for each pair of sentences. So I should have 10 new sentences. I know you guys can do it because we've done it in class several times. Pause the video now to complete this work. Right, what I want you to do with those is upload it on Tapestry and I'll have a look through them. And what I might do is I'll share some of the really good ones that I've seen in our next live session. Going to show you our new model text now. So there's a bit of reading in this one, so you might want to get yourself sitting comfortably. You need to take any notes, so maybe get yourself a drink and a snack and you can have that while we go through this. If you want to do that, pause the video now. Okay, got yourself comfortable, got yourself a drink and a snack? Right, let's go through our new model text. So we've got a text about Anglo-Saxon society. I'm going to start off over here in the top left-hand corner. The Saxon people all have great lives. Wealthy or not, all of them had endured some hard times. Despite this, society was split into 3 categories: the Saxon nobility, the upper classes, for example, the kings, the ealdormen, and the thanes, a bit like landlords. Next were all the commoners, who were the ceorls, who were a group consisting of farmers and craftsmen. Lastly, slaves or thralls, whose lives were hard and mostly miserable. So we'll go on and look at the next box, social hierarchy. Overall, the social hierarchy in Anglo-Saxon England was regarded fair and created a perfect solution for 2 main needs at the time. One was the organised workforce, whose duties were defined clearly by their stations. Secondly, an army which could be constructed and taken to the field with minimal preparation. We'll look at commoners. So commoners in the Anglo-Saxon period were known as ceorls. They were the craftsmen and the farmers. These were the majority of people. While some were successful landowners, there were some that were not that wealthy, living as agricultural labourers under their landlord's rights. Although all were craftsmen and farmers, they could all be summoned to join the Fred if they were called upon. They were required by law to join. The Fred was an army of poorly armed fighters who had not undergone any training at all. The commoners could not afford their own weapons and armour, which meant their chances in a fight were not great. The best weapons they were able to acquire were spears, but most were only armed with hammers, axes and scythes, which were easily accessible through their work. So in the middle we've got some images that show the typical wear that they would have had, how the thanes would have been armed, and also how the feuds would have been armed. So it shows you the difference between the equipment that the upper classes and the nobility had compared to the commoners. We'll move on to the top right hand corner, so the nobility and upper classes. The Anglo-Saxon upper class and nobility consisted of the kings, ealdormen and thanes. The nobility was led by the kings, who ruled over large areas of land called kingdoms. Next were the ealdormen, who controlled the various districts on behalf of the ruler. The ealdormen had significant power that was often responsible for law and order, therefore were tasked with providing justice. They were also in charge of the militias, which was formed by locals, the commoners, in times of war. Below the ealdormen were the thanes. The thanes were the professional military in service to either the king or the ealdormen. Some served the king and had the possibility to gain a place in the king's home, while others owned lands in their own rights. These thanes had the duty to create a solid foundation for the army and to fight for the kingdom. When they were not actively on duty in the military, they took care of local organisations, both of men-at-arms and trade routes. And then we come to the slaves. The bottom of the structure of society in Anglo-Saxon times consisted of the slaves, who were called bondsmen or thralls. Slaves were either prisoners captured during wars, Britons, natives from Great Britain, or Saxons falling into debt who literally had to sell themselves to slavery. They did not have many rights under law, and they could be harshly punished without any thought of justice. Punishment, which includes being killed, was easy to receive for slaves. I've read you through this. Take some time, pause the video and have a read through it of yourself. Maybe make a few notes of some of the words that you think you don't really understand what that means. We're going to start looking at the vocabulary and the structure as this week goes on. So use the time you've got, read this through again. If you're struggling to understand some of it, go back a few seconds and listen to me read it through for you so you can start picking up the vocabulary that we're using and how to pronounce it. Well, stay safe and I'll see you again for our next video.